Hi everybody, Matt here from Matt Likes Comics, and I'm here today to do a video based on the series Batman Confidential. Now, Batman Confidential was a series that ran from 2006 to 2011, and it was an updated version of the series of Legend of the Dark Knight that ran from about 1989 to 2004, I believe. Basically, Legends of the Dark Knight was a series that did a lot of early Batman stories where you met a lot of the villains for the first time, and you met and most of these stories took place before Batman ever had a Robin, for example. And what most of it, as I said, is like first year Batman because it was interesting. Now, the difference was Legends of the Dark Knight started in post Crisis, but not but there had been updates with Infinite Crisis and Final Crisis, all these other stuff. So basically, this series was just picking up and doing interesting stories based on different Batman parts. The series ran for 54 issues, and during those 54 issues, there were 13 separate arcs. And I'm going to cover one of the arcs today, just one, but it was to me the best one of the 13. So, this was from issue 7 to 12. The arc was called Lovers and Madmen, and it was written by Michael Green, and the artist was Dennis Carson. Sorry, Dennis Cowan. I can't read my own writing. I'm sorry. Dennis Cowan. It's right here on the cover. So basically, we start with issue 7. Okay? Does that guy look sort of familiar to you? Have you seen this guy before? Well, it says right on the cover that it's going to be before there was a Joker. Basically, this is the first year Batman is Batman, and crime is down with the war of criminals, and people are out of Gotham are actually starting to feel safe again. However, because of that, Batman feels he can start a relationship. So he starts a relationship with a woman named Lorna Shore, who's a curator of the Gotham Museum of Modern Art. And what happens is, there's this guy named Jack who is the perfect criminal. Everything he does works. Like, if he'll pull off a robbery, doesn't get caught, everything goes smoothly. And he starts complaining to a waitress by the name of Leanie. Remember that name, Leanie, that he's like the perfect criminal and everything's too easy. So the next time he decides to rob something, he sets off the alarm on purpose, and the police show up, but Batman shows up, and he looks at the Batman and he says, "Oh, what a silly looking guy," basically. And he's like, he's ridiculous. He smiles because he thinks he may have found the perfect opponent. Which brings us to issue 8. Jack leaves a note thanking Batman for making his day. Over the next little bit, he's committing random crimes, and Batman is starting to get a little frustrated that he can't seem to catch this guy. Batman does learn who he is, and he continues his relationship with Lorna. It's a big part of this story because Lorna becomes big, big as it goes on. Batman also finds out that the mafia is trying to find Jack and take him out. Okay. Batman's hoping the mafia doesn't use their usual methods, but he should know better. Which brings us to issue 9. This is probably the coolest cover I've seen in a long time. The bloody Batarang coming back to a shadowed Batman who looks angry on a white cover. I really like this one. This is a good cover. This book was partially why I actually decided to do this video. So Batman arrives to stop the theft at Jack's next target. Okay, but Jack takes a hostage, and that hostage is Lorna. Because what has happened is that the Jack has decided to hit the as a target the ball, the little ball that Lorna's throwing as a fundraiser for the Museum of Modern Art. And sure enough, when Batman starts to win, Jack takes a knife and slices Lorna right across the abdomen. Meanwhile, Batman had managed to hit Jack in the face with his batarang, giving him a Glasgow smile. Sound familiar? And the book ends with Batman being able to get Lorna to the hospital, but she's placed in critical condition, and we don't know what her fate is going to be at the end of the book. Meanwhile, because Batman is so mad, we move to issue 10, and this is the first time you see a familiar face during this arc. So basically, Jack is happy because he's feeling something, the pain from the Glasgow thing. He has not felt this happy in years. Meanwhile, at the Batcave, Batman believes that he's going to be seeking medical attention, so he creates a list of underground doctors and surgeons and such that he can find, that he's aware of, to try and locate where Jack would be. He does realize where Jack's next target's going to be, and they have discovered that Lorna is going to be, well, the doctor doesn't like the prognosis, so Batman gets words that Lorna looks like she's going to die. So the mob has found out where Jack is based on information planted by the Batman, because the Batman figured out what his next target's going to be. And Batman, while being with Lorna as she's about to die, sits there and allows the mafia to go after him. But at the last minute, he's like, no, I can't do this. Life is sacred, and I have to go and stop them from killing him. Thus, leading us to issue 11. This is a cool cover, too. Not as cool as the other one, but the image of the Joker inside the bat signal really is another powerful one. Now, at the end of the last book, Jack was thrown down into a vat by the mafia crazy boys. At the beginning of this book, he is disappointed that he's still alive. The mafia guys, the henchmen, see that he's still alive, so they start shooting at him, and they miss. But what happens is they manage to hit a vat that contains antipsychotic drugs in a liquid form, which fall and into the vat. Batman arrives, but thinks that Jack is already dead because he can't see him in the vat after the fight with the mafia, and therefore he assumes Jack has died, and he leaves. But it turns out that Jack has found that there is a pipeline going from this vat that leads out to a nearby lake, which is a scene which most of us are familiar with seeing, as if we've seen various origins of the Joker over the years. He emerges, seeing that his brown suit has turned purple, his hair has turned green, his lips ruby red, and his skin chalk white. And the book ends with him laughing hilariously, hysterically, like, again, we're used to seeing with the Joker. Thus, we come to issue 12. Issue 12, Batman Confidential, which has them face to face. Batman learns that Lorna has survived, but she's not very responsive. Jack has now accepted his new look and has renamed himself the Joker. And he begins to terrorize Gotham while Batman stays out of sight tending to Lorna. At this point, after a little while, Alfred finally convinces Bruce, you need to stop this terrorist. So, sure enough, Batman goes to stop him. The Joker decides to test Batman by jumping off a building to see if Batman would let him die. After initially being hesitant, Batman jumps after him and saves his life. The story ends with Batman breaking up with Lorna because he realizes he cannot have a relationship as long as there are people like the Joker around. Meanwhile, Bruce donates a ton of money to the Arkham Asylum in order to keep guys like the Joker behind bars. That is the end of this story arc of Batman Confidential. We have issue 7 through 12. Here's issue 8. Again, this really cool cover for number 9. Number 10, 11, and 12. Now, the thing about Batman Confidential that people had criticized, and it's not just this arc in particular, but a lot of the arcs, a lot of what is done in Confidential has a little bit of conflicts with canon, for example. And to this day, there are 3 versions of the Joker's origin that are considered canon, more so than this arc. And then those, of course, are the Killing Joke, the Man Who Laughs, and the 3 Jokers. Although the 3 Jokers canonicity is still in doubt because of it being a Black Label book, it's not necessarily in canon as we see it, the way we see it. I personally think it's in canon because the 3 Jokers makes a lot of sense. If you haven't read any of these 3 stories, by the way, Killing Joke, Man Who Laughs, or the 3 Jokers, I really recommend them all, especially the Killing Joke. The Killing Joke is by Alan Moore, as most people would know, and it's been around since 1988. So if you haven't read it by now, you really need to get yourself a copy. There are plenty of copies available. I think it's been reprinted at least 20 times. Plus, I have a copy in a collection of Alan Moore stories, as well as, you know, many. It's been referenced in so many things because that's the story, of course, where Barbara Gordon ends up a paraplegic. But one thing that is kind of cool about this is that Jack meets Leanie, which is the Harleen Quinn, or Harley Quinn, of this particular run of books. So I find that interesting. Although it's not again, there's a question to the canonicity of the meeting between Harley Quinn and Jack, you know, for the first time. Anyway, I really enjoyed this story arc. I like Batman Confidential as a series overall because whether or not the canonicity of the stories are in doubt, they are all good stories, and it's obvious that they took the time to get the right writers, the right artists, and wrote stuff excuse me properly so that we would be able to have a great run. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, share, comment, hit the bell, you know, all the usual crap that people like me ask you to do. It we appreciate it very much. I appreciate all my subscribers very much. And before I go, I'd like to make a couple quick shout outs. One to Brandon at Mon Comics. He's he is a very big fan of the comic community, and if you have not checked him out, you should. He's got some great videos, and he's just a nice, cool guy who has quite a bit of knowledge on the Marvel side, which I am sorely lacking. I'd like to say hi out there to Tyler, Pocket Full of Comics. Again, another person who has a nice collection. You should take a look at it, and he's got he's got some great stuff. You should take a look. And I would also like to say thank you out there to Cali Comics. Cali's been a great supporter of the channel, and he goes into a monthly thing with Bleecker and K-pop and Hudat Comics, where they do the Band of Brothers auctions. Callie is one of the regular sellers on there. You should give him a check. He sells a lot of good stuff that a lot of people out there are really into. So give it a check and have a good one. Anyway, my name is Matt, and I like comics, and I hope you do too.